Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
The Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me, PlayStation 5. Got Apps and Adcock here to talk about the latest entry into the anthology, Supermassive Games. What's that one that we played the other time? The one on the...
House of Ashes?
No, the one that's not part of the anthology.
Oh, yeah, the sort of more mainline entry.
Yeah.
It's like a play on Quarry. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, Quarry. I think that was the last one we done. It's either that or it was the War Iraqi anthology one, but I feel like that was before.
I can't remember. I thought it was the other way around, to be honest.
Could be.
But my memory is shot to bits.
Doesn't matter, does it?
You would not want me as a witness in court for anything that happened more than a week ago.
No,
struggling.
I've been watching that Jinx Part 2.
Oh, I've heard that's very good, yeah.
It is good, yeah. Probably not as good as the original, but I felt like that was the same with Making a Murderer. I don't know if you remember that. Like, really good first season. The second one, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Clearly was cashing in, but this actually has significant updates to the case, which is good. Could be an inspiration for a future entry into the Dark Pictures anthology. Who knows? Little Robert Durst sitting there, bald head. Oh, another one here, but it's all right. It's fine. I'm going to read off the store page, get us started, get us warmed up. People should know that you're basically waiting to eat. So if Adcock is not on form, that's why he's misaligned his life again. Now he's had to do this before dinner, and I don't know if you get hangry or frustrated when you're hungry.
Yeah, I do. You know, I'm better now, but when I used to order at restaurants, if my meal didn't come out ahead of or in line with who ordered first, that used to really upset me.
Yeah, that's standard protocol, though. I think that should all be in sync, shouldn't it?
That's the way I saw it, yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, welcome to The Dark Pictures, a series of standalone branching cinematic horror games from the studio behind Until Dawn. So they're still plugging that one.
Yeah.
That's actually been re-released, isn't it? On PS5. I think they've done a remaster of it.
Yeah, they've done one of their... Yeah.
Might go back to that. Easy to pick up and play in short sessions, alone or with friends. The Devil in Me is the fourth game in the series and the season 1 finale. A group of documentary filmmakers receive a mysterious call inviting them to a modern-day replica of a serial killer, H. Holmes Murder Castle. It's an opportunity that's too good to pass up and could be just the thing they're looking for to win some much-needed public interest. The hotel is the perfect set for their new episode, but things aren't quite as they seem. The crew discover they're being watched and even manipulated, and suddenly there's much more at stake than just their ratings. Welcome to the Murder Motel. Nothing is as it seems here, and the amenities are to die for. Explore every nook and cranny of the World's Fair Hotel using all new season finale features, including character inventory, tool-based puzzles, and expanded movement actions such as run, jump, and climb. I mean, if that's going in the marketing spiel, that shows the level of interactivity we've been served up before this. The three others clearly not hitting the high marks of mechanics. Your death is his design. Escape the torturous creations of an evil monster who is hell-bent on becoming America's deadliest serial killer and survive elaborate killing rooms where your own death is by the killer's design. Don't play alone. Endure terrifying tests of loyalty, or you risk your own life for someone else you care for. The 2 critically acclaimed multiplayer modes are back. Share your story with an online friend or aim for safety in numbers for our offline 5-player pass the pad mode. So that's still there as an option for group parties. Can you outsmart the killer and check out all of your cast? All playable characters can live or die depending on your version of the story. Please enjoy your stay. So that's what we've got. Now, as I said, this is
Not
the
really an
season.
elevator pitch, was it? There's a few paragraphs.
Sometimes they're wildly inconsistent, these store pages. Some are like one sentence, and others really... I like it when they do a bit more, though. 'Cause it reminds me, oh yeah, it did have that. That is new.
Yeah.
Sort of these brains do forget. I don't know where to start this one. I mean, we should start with these new features they're touting. Because I think it'd be easy to forget that actually the other games didn't really have this sort of stuff. Like the exploration was kind of muted, like, especially on that Man of Medan, that ship. There's nowhere to go. There's like just corridors and a few rooms, but you can't run. You can sort of walk faster in those ones, and you can't jump and climb. And they're making out here like it's some sort of Uncharted level. It's not. It's all completely contextual. Like there's areas in the game where you can climb up things and probably have a bit more of an open space. But my main takeaway from this kind of enhanced movement actions, as they've touted it, was that it kind of slowed the pace a little bit for me. I don't know if you felt the same, but we spent a lot of time. It felt like we're spending more time than usual wandering and climbing and balancing across logs that had fallen conveniently across rocks, just because they'd made the mechanic. I was like, we've got to use it and we've got to really put it in their face. There's lots of shimmying past things at slow pace or crawling under random bushes that again have got a convenient path directly underneath them. And I think it killed the pace a little bit for this one, just at a high level.
Yeah, I think because we played this over 3 sessions, I think what's more bizarre for me is that all of that shimmy into it and stuff was all in session 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Then it kind of died out. I forgot that. And yeah, like you said, I completely forgot it was a thing. So yeah, I would agree definitely at the front end of it. It definitely was very sort of slow. I mean, even the other bits, I mean, it's good for us to get a reminder that they're in there, but they're not selling points. Like inventory-based puzzles, I mean,
yeah,
come on.
I think
Resident Evil, it ain't.
I think someone had a paperclip or something. That was like one of the highlights. That could like open locked boxes. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't really a stacked inventory from what I saw. It was like 1 item per character.
I understand why they felt maybe the need to do this, because one of the constant criticisms these games get is the lack of quote-unquote gameplay or mechanics. But I think this shows that actually maybe it would be nice to have, but you've still got to execute them to a better degree. You're right, that opening like stanza, that first session we did, it really is badly paced.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wandering around and not a lot of substance happening. But I'm not convinced that these made the game any better. If anything, they seem like they created them all, like made it work technically, and then struggled to find a way to implement it into a way that was enhanced the game. I'm not sure if it
probably would have been better in the previous game we played, wouldn't it? The House of Ashes, which was a bit more action heavy anyway.
Yeah, like army based.
So the thing is, I feel like the changes they make on these games are incremental. So I'll be honest, I don't think I'd be hard pressed to say what was a new feature and what has carried over, because little changes just as you play. Yeah, if I went back to Man of Medan now, it probably struggle with it a bit, but to my mind, it was the same. I didn't really, couldn't have told you what the changes were.
No, I think that's a way of saying that it's fine they're there, but they weren't particularly groundbreaking, or they won't revolutionise the series for people. Like those that have staunchly been like, I'm not playing them because there's not enough gameplay. This alone is not enough for those people. I don't think if the intention was to sort of get more people to try it, because we're saying, oh look, we've got some more in-depth gameplay mechanics here, I don't think this was successful from that position.
No, these games kind of live and die with putting you in situations where the sort of basic gameplay, the quick time events, the correct button at the right time, things like the breathing, it does really sort of put you under pressure, and that is when it's at its best. But that is through like scenario storytelling, like actually wanting to keep the characters alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I hope just, you know, having a blend would be nice going forward. I agree, it is interesting they're doing this, but yeah, on this one, probably did fall flat a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to agree. They tried to also add in like these little collectible coins that you could get, which in game, in universe, offer nothing. But once you come out the game, you can unlock, what were they, dioramas that you could unlock in game. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's, again, not worth running around and scrabbling around to find those, really. I still think the most interesting thing about these games are the premonition pictures, where you get like a glimpse of a potential death and you're like, oh, that might be coming up. Even better, actually, you find some that are little clips from the future game. So you get a little idea, which we'll speak about towards the back end of this. And because they drop a trailer and it's out now. It's been out for a while for people to look at. So yeah, I think fine to include that stuff, but I don't know if it added it. Probably on balance might have even detracted slightly because it seemed overindulgent at times, at least for me. There's a lot of that running around when, as you rightly say, the main part is the decision making, the quick time, the under pressure moments, even the character interactions. That's what they're kind of there for. Let's talk about the setting and the story and perhaps the characters, I guess, because again, this is the main kind of meat and potatoes of it. What did you think of this particular one? Because I've got thoughts, but I'm interested to hear what you say in terms of, you know, we're off at this murder sort of castle on this island, and as I said, things aren't what they seem, and as it's a horror game, there's death and misery to follow, and it's the same sort of pattern. But in terms of what we've played previously, I guess might be a good kind of barometer to look at and say where this might rank. But what did you think of the setup, characters, and the overarching sort of narrative?
I actually thought, because we played this, started it a few months ago, didn't we? And then we only played the first like chapter, like, maybe and then 0.2 of the next one. I actually thought the premise was really good, potentially the best. Just, you know, the fact that it starts in the past, it often does. You play with characters you won't play again. Is kind of standard for these games, just to kind of get the feel for you know how the gameplay works. And I thought that section was really good in this one. And then, as I say, I thought the premise was really good. Like Murder House, in my head, I was thinking like it's going to be like Saw, you know, later like dual traps and things, and a lot of like tough decisions to make. I feel like once the game then went past that, I feel like, if I'm honest, it's like a bit of a missed opportunity. And maybe that's just my own brain deciding then, you know, what the game was going to be after that opening, and then marinating on that thought for the 4 months we didn't play it, and then going, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't what I expected. But yeah, I think I thought it was overall one of the weaker entries once it got going, like with that setting, like the actual like areas you play in. I think after a really strong, curious what I gave the House of Ashes, but I know I really enjoyed that. But yeah, this one seemed like a bit of a step down in that respect for me.
Yeah, I too feel like the Saw element is, because the trailers are all, this is what the trailers are all showing, like I said, escape room, death puzzles. That's really interesting, particularly when they put two characters in the same room, and it's like choose who dies, essentially. Like you can let the person get themselves killed, or perhaps you can flip the trap, and that dynamic can happen. And really, they only do that a handful of times.
I was going to say, it was really good when it happened, but just, really didn't happen a lot.
No, nowhere near enough. And it just kind of descended into sort of slasher horror. Like, just geezer marching around. I was like, this is not... That's not particularly... If the game was that, you know, fine. But they had an opportunity here to really do a lot of the game as like escape puzzles and kill rooms and whatever, and trying to escape the traps and outsmart the antagonist that way, and they do it for a little bit and then just think, well, no, he's just going to chase you now. And it's like, well, that's been done a million times, and again, it's fine. But the promise of it being like a Saw video game just kind of flushed away at the halfway mark almost.
I feel like that would have been a really good idea and different from what they've done.
Yeah.
And then what we get is, I don't want to say more of the same, but, you know, they've done this before with much better antagonists. Like, the person in this, the antagonist, is a bit of a bore, really, isn't he? It's like, what is he doing?
Yeah, there's some like interesting tidbits if you pick up the documents and whatnot, but it's still not very. It's just not fully fleshed out. The idea they had, I think they should have really just committed to that. And him marching around should have been perhaps maybe at the very end, like just as like an escape thing, but almost like half the game is that. And it's like we've done like a couple of like interesting, intense scenario based like traps, and then all right, we've run out of ideas now. It's just going to be standard affair of just get away. And I was like, that's a missed opportunity for me, because the whole I like the Saw films. I know they've gone a bit off the boil. In fact, there's one on Amazon Prime now, and I was like, well, I haven't seen that one. I've seen all of the others, so I may as well just sit down and watch that for 90 minutes.
Joe, you're in for a treat. It's a good one.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's encouraging. So yeah, I was thinking, oh, maybe we'll get like a an off-color version of that. But no, we'll have to just stick with the Saw video games that came out like 10, 15. Did you ever play those?
No,
I didn't either.
To be honest, I didn't actually. I probably did at the time. I didn't even. My brain hasn't retained that they even existed, because I was going to literally say, do you know what? Playing a Saw video game would actually be a lot of fun. So
yeah, I don't know I don't know if they were brilliant, but I feel like they had the potential to kind of fill that gap anyway, and that's what it was kind of marketed as. And even in the in the text there, it talks about the escaping the rooms and whatnots, these killing rooms, but they are there, but just not as often as I thought they would be. And ultimately, that was a bit of a disappointment in my eyes. In terms of like the characters that we control, this can sometimes save it if there's like some good interaction or good backstory or all that sort of good stuff going on. How did you find this motley crew of like, was it 4 or 5? I think it was. We start off with, and I think we got two killed, one each, so not a bad run really. I think on my initial one I got maybe 1 killed, maybe 2, I can't remember. But yeah, did you feel any pain when you had one of these people put down, and did you find any of their backstory or other bits and pieces interesting?
I mean, I never want to get them killed, but to be honest, I don't think I've ever got through one of these games clean. So it does tend to happen to me. But yeah, I wasn't really blown away by this cast, if I'm honest. Found them, varying on irritating, boring, cliched. Like, I don't know, that kind of are a bit like that anyway. But again, my memories of the previous game, I had really enjoyed the character, the interactions, the dynamics, the relationships. Found the beginning in House of Ashes, the previous entry, when not much is going on, just dealing with the characters, and you kind of get to build relationships and make some low-key decisions. I found it really interesting because of what was going on, the dynamics they'd set up, whereas in this one I just didn't find that, and just found them kind of generic or irritating, which isn't what you want.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, they were fine, serviceable is what you might call them, but I think again we look at House of Ashes, which keeps popping up as our favourite. It just wasn't even close, really.
Yeah,
that's such a much better. I wouldn't even say the setup's better, because I still think I could have really enjoyed the setup of this one if they fully committed to it. But character-wise, there's not really a lot going on. Like you said, very very generic. He said, as Drago said, if they die, they die. It was like kind of like one of those sort of shoulder shrug moments. Still didn't want them dead, obviously, but I weren't overly cut up when I made a mistake. And I was like, well, that's thin the herd a little bit, I guess. It might get the game over a bit quicker, maybe. That's maybe a positive for it. It wasn't that bad, but yeah, there wasn't much intrigue or interest there, and they've certainly done better in, I don't know if all the games, but House of Ashes definitely, and with Little Hope and Man of Medan, like, I think this may have been even the weaker cast of those other two as well. If I'm
potentially.
It's hard to remember properly, but sometimes certain things stick out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this didn't stick the landing for me either. As an overall package, obviously you've got all these elements that make these sort of weird interactive horror games. Is it better than the sum of its parts? Because some of the key things there we've picked holes in from stem to stern, but does it still ultimately come together as an enjoyable package and a decent horror romp that people might be able to find some positives out of?
I think the thing here is with these games, and this one as well, is that they're relatively short. I think this probably took 5 hours, maybe 6 at a push.
Yeah.
I mean, and as you say, a couple of people down will streamline your playtime.
This was supposed to be a longer one. I think when I went on my own, it felt longer.
Yeah, you said we didn't even visit an entire sort of section.
Yeah, we did get someone killed off. We've got 7 hours on the How Long to Beat. Let's have a look at House of Ashes. 6 hours, so maybe an extra hour or two, perhaps at a stretch. But yeah, it wasn't up into 9 or 10 hours. It's still within that window, isn't it, of where you'd expect these to land.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it works on all of them. I feel like I've bought 2 of them, and then on 2 of them, you've had this facility to just kind of, own the game and then play, for free with me. So I'm like, the fact that the games are relatively cheap, short, you can play multiplayer sometimes, and no extra cost for the additional person. I do think it's like, even when they're bad, it is kind of fun just playing with a friend, but they're relatively sort of chilled most of the time. And then obviously you get those kind of moments that it all kind of kicks off and you have to concentrate. And it can be quite funny when you're kind of messing up, or you hear your mate shouting because he's getting it wrong or whatever. So I do enjoy them. I never thought I would play, when I saw this series announced, but I was never, compared to some people, I was never hugely keen on Until Dawn. I thought it was all right, whereas I know some people really like it. So it kind of surprised me now that I've played all 4 of these, but I have overall enjoyed my time with them. Just probably more misses than hits, if I'm honest, with the 4.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually played, I think, everything since Until Dawn. Everything Supermassive have put out in this. So we've played, like I said, The Quarry, Man of Medan, House of Ashes, Little Hope, The Devil in Me. Until Dawn, obviously, was the first one. So these types of games, we have played them all. So if expert's the right word, but we've certainly spent enough time with them to know the ins and outs of them. And we do keep coming back. It might just be because it's the genre of horror. Not really. I'd say it wasn't when these started coming out. I didn't feel like horror was served very well in the gaming space. But since like Resident Evil 2, it's actually on a bit of a comeback, as we mentioned last year with Alan Wake 2, and with Resident Evil 4 remake. I know Alone in the Dark's come out this past year and not quite hit the highs, but again, that probably would have been maybe even been sniffed at as being made 5 years ago. Obviously, Silent Hill 2, that's due out this year as well. So it's not like we're starving. The only stinker now is Tango Gameworks shut down. No Evil Within 3. So that ends of the second. You never played the second one, did you?
No, I know you. Weirdly, I bought it. I just never got around to playing it. I know you actually said it was pretty decent.
Well, if you compare it to Resident Evil or Alan Wake, you might think it's a step down still, probably, but it's good. It's better than the first one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know you wasn't overly fond of that.
I just think I had really high expectations for the first one. And
Mikami not living up to his Resident Evil
exactly, best. Yeah. Probably wasn't as bad as I remember. It just, wasn't what I was expecting again, which that will cost you when you've already decided.
It's going to be X and it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I must say, when I come into these games, it's relatively like mid to low expectations.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting the world from it, and I'm pleasantly surprised. You know, maybe 50% of the time, and other times I'm like, yeah, that's kind of where I thought it was, but I don't regret. You know, the 5, 6, 7 hours or whatever it takes to run through. It's always a good laugh and a chuckle. Always blame being chucked out. So I know you've played the Quarry as like an actual sort of tag team on the sofa with like more than like 2, 3, 4 people. So that comes with different experience as well, which these games offer if people want to do it.
Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, because we've done it with that pass the pad thing, so it literally tells you when to pass the pad. It's quite good.
And do you get given a set character, or is it just set moments they sort of give to you?
I think you might. Oh yeah, I think it will start the chapter and tell you player 1 is so and so, player 2 is so and so, and then it'll just then do the same as it switches characters. Probably better in a longer game that pass the pad, so you get a bit more of a feel for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to play this with 4 or 5 people. You wouldn't be getting a lot of game time.
No, you wouldn't, would you? That's interesting. That's in there. Because some characters, get like much less screen time. I felt at the Quarry they've done a good job of making sure everyone got an even-ish amount of time and whatnot. But there we go. I didn't have any problems mind from performance side of things or any technical issues. I think even the online worked pretty seamlessly, didn't it? But I don't know if on your side you had any issues or
I had one,
bugs.
I think, where it was just the dialogue had maybe gone ahead of the visuals. It was like in a bit where we were both kind of in an action thing, but it didn't affect anything. And other than that, it was good. Yeah,
there's still some awkward transitions, particularly when playing multiplayer. Like, they've done a better job of masking it. Like, if you're in a room and I've done my bit outside the room and I'm trying to get in, I feel like it used to just stop and you just see like the character waiting and the head would just be bobbing. Whereas now there was like an animation of me just hitting the door and trying to get in. And then once you'd cleared your bit, it would come together. But even with that, there's still parts where if I was too far ahead of you or vice versa, then I think you got teleported once, didn't you, into like an area and you was like, I wasn't near here. And also one of the puzzles, I think I ran through my bit too quickly, which ultimately may well have cost us because you were reading bottles or something, trying to get the rich lore on what year the wine had been made in the brewery. But it didn't explicitly explain that, so I have to kind of let you off on that. But yeah, the one thing again, the games do feel a bit clunky and heavy to move the characters, and they are so animation heavy and so sluggish. It's like that in Red Dead Redemption 2, to be honest, and GTA if you play that now. But that just works, whereas this feels like you're fighting it sometimes. Particularly when both of us were trying to go for like, if you were going across like a balance beam, for example, I would like be lining up to go next. It wouldn't let me go whilst she was on it, which is fair enough. But actually, if I walked towards the entry point, it would like hit my character and spin them round and like turn them away and walk them like 10 paces away. I was like, well, no, that's going to take like 12 seconds now to turn around. And you talk about tank controls, but I think Resident Evil 1 might have been easier in some ways to get these characters where you needed them. Not ideal at all. Let's do the formalities. We've got the gaming gallery. You've got a couple of options at this stage for the Devil In. Is it Devil In Me? Yeah, that's a shit name as well, I must say. Because that doesn't even really... I'm like thinking about the game. I'm not even sure. It's like a really... I don't know. It doesn't really stick to me.
No, it doesn't fit, but yeah, it kind of works at the beginning when the first bit, and then it makes
less sense.
Yeah,
as the game goes on. But we can unlock the doors of the gaming gallery, take it in there, and then award it some sort of recognition. It won't go into the botuling bin because we did finish it, so that's only reserved. And that's Biff that uses that. He's fill up. I think half the stuff in there is from him. Or if we don't think it deserves to go in the gallery, we've got self-storage rented out just outside in the car park. We can take it in there and it can just sit in there at expense. Because like I said, it's not cheap, these self-storages, particularly sort of big yellow branded stuff, which we're not paying for. So you've got a couple of options. You can either cost us money and chuck it in the self-storage, or if you want to award it some sort of recognition, we can go into the gallery and then...
Yeah, no, I'll be bringing it in.
All right, that's fine. I'm glad, because I said we can't really afford the budget for that self-storage. It's for much longer, so I have to kind of... encourage people not to use that. But we've got the platinum, we've got the gold, we've got the silver, the bronze, the usual options. Where is the Dark Pictures Anthology? The Devil in Me going to go for you, Mr. Pac-Man Adcock.
A nice big fat bronze.
Yep. And it's exactly the same for me. So it goes into that category. We both had House of Ashes as a silver a little while back. And I think all the rest have hit bronze as well. So
yeah,
it's about right. They're still perfectly playable. And I think people that... at this point, you either know if you like these games or you don't. And if you do, there's still something there for people to run through. I still think there's a lot more headroom for them to do something really, really good. I think they've still not quite strung it. House of Ashes was close.
Yeah,
But I don't think they've quite strung it properly together yet to hit like what the potential is. And maybe we'll see that in season 2 or maybe another standalone entry they do. But again, if you've enjoyed the games previously, you've got nothing really to fear here. Like it's fine. It is a little bit more expensive on the pit. It's like a 10 or more this one than what they were previously. So just keep that in mind. And obviously sales will be abundant now. The game came out in 2022, I think. And me and Adcock were waiting for the friend pass to activate, so he didn't have to shell out. Yeah, late 2022. So it has been...
And when was the... what was first? Little Hope or Man of Medan? Man of Medan.
Man of Medan, yeah.
What year is that then?
Let me check. Man of Medan.
I feel like the cadence between them is actually quite good. It doesn't feel like you're inundated.
Though I haven't heard anything about the new one, which concerns me slightly. Like it's a season end, so you liars! It's got 2022 on there because it's on the. Let's try this one. Alright, I'm just gonna look it up on Wikipedia because they re-released them.
Right.
Did a PS5 version of it, and it's 2019. Okay. So yeah, I mean what's that? 5 years now.
Yeah.
For 4 games.
Yeah, so I mean it feels all right.
Yeah, plus the Quarry, which was sandwiched in between that. Probably a different team, but nonetheless, it's still there. So yeah, they're banging them out in decent. Perhaps maybe they should take a little bit more time. But yeah, 2019 Man of Medan, 2020 Little Hope, 2021 House of Ashes, then this was 2022. So they were on an annual cadence. So nothing. Nothing.
Gap now.
Yeah, season end, mate. They got to go and get a load more content and start from scratch. Hopefully get a season. I mean, there's no guarantee, but you'd hope so. They are trying to set things up with that curator and whatnot, which I'm not. That could be just a disaster if they end up. He gets his own game, but we've had the trailer for the Dark Pictures Anthology Directive 8020. This is interesting. We're going to space, sci-fi, and I was like, yes. The setting does make these games really to a certain extent. Like that's definitely a good setting. I'm a bit concerned about being excited about it because it might be a bit middling, but just as a place to explore and what they could do and what could be the enemies, and I don't know. There's a lot they could do there, and I think I didn't expect them to for some reason, but they're going for it. So what's your thoughts on that? Directive 8020. We've got a little teaser trailer that's been out for a little while now, and it looks like it's going to be space. It better not be like a Black Mirror where it's like 10% of the game's like in space and the rest is like some weird fucking VR type thing. I don't want that happening. I don't want the rug pulled out from under us. But let's assume we're going into Ridley Scott's space area to meet some aliens or whatever. I don't know.
It could be a really good setting. Good characters, classic cliches there would be welcome. Lots of you can just think of some of the deaths or potential deaths they could conjure up. Could be really fun. Enemy, world's your oyster. Like this is, I wouldn't say I get excited for these games, but I do think this has got the potential, to be different and decent. Yeah,
I'm excited to see more on this and see what they do. Hope it is some sort of alien creature. That feels... If it's like a person that's fucking up the space station, or that'll be a little... Again, it'd be a bit like this, wouldn't it? Where it's like, it's just some geezer roaring around.
I quite like when they often have things where there's multiple enemies, or,
True.
Which it could work well in that respect. I like that when, you think you're dealing with one thing and then, potentially a supernatural element's introduced that's been flirted with. It can be quite clever, the storytelling, when it's done well in these games.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that. Directive 8020. I haven't seen any extra bits or other bits and pieces. It's still in development, and we'll get to it when it comes out, I think. And the fact that suggests they are going to do a season 2 at least. Whether it be 4 games, I don't know. And we'll find out as and when we need to. Outside of space, where else? What other sort of settings or, I guess, themes or inspirations would you do? Because we've kind of had Man in Medan. I don't know how to categorise what that's inspired from, but Little Hope was a little bit of like Blair Witchy type setting, not of the found footage, but had like the Salem sort of witch trials and whatnot. House of Ashes was just had the Descent in there, bit of Aliens and Predator was in there, all that sort of good stuff. And then this was Saw for about 20% of it, and then it was like Friday the 13th or Halloween almost. So any other sort of tropes or genres that you'd like them to explore?
The only one I can think of that might work quite well would be like an apocalyptic setting, with like a disease or zombies, something where...
That is the ultimate sort of... We've had that so many times, but I think for this game, it could work well. I mean, we saw with the Walking Dead Telltale games.
I was going to say, like that when it was good. I mean, I only played the first couple, but decisions and stuff there were... I don't think... nothing's come close to the impact Season 1 had on me with that. Clementine and whatever the fella was called. That was brilliant. So, that's the one that jumps to mind right away.
Yeah.
But... I wouldn't really just want another zombie game, so maybe some kind of spin on that genre.
It would be unfairly criticised out the gate, I think, that one, which makes me think they won't do it. But I agree. Like, I think there's loads you can do with that. Like someone getting bit, you cut the arm off, you kill, like someone's turning. Like, there's all these. That's what I'm thinking in my head. There's all these scenarios that you can put in place,
and then also, you've got the other factions. Do you trust them? Do you not? Like this? Yeah, there's a lot you can do there.
Yeah. I don't think I have any others, though, off the top of my head. I don't know if there's really many other genres, really, for... Maybe like an out-and-out, like, Ghost one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, like, the zombie one, I think, would work, and I'm glad they're going off into sci-fi land.
Yes, more sci-fi, like the Thing would be a good setting. Anything like that is very good. Like, sci-fi horror, that blend is always good.
Yeah. We'll see what they're doing. We'll see what this Directive 8020 comes out. But interesting nonetheless. Anyway, that'll do for the Dark Pictures anthology, The Devil in Me. Finally got around to playing it and beating that. And bronze rating for both Adcock and myself. So consistency across the board amongst the Dimp ranks. But nothing really much more for us to say other than thanks for your time. And ta-da!
This was a Dimp Digital production.